Hey everybody, this is Team from PopCultureMaven.com. We're back with this week's new comic book reviews, and it's actually a pretty good sized week. There's a big one at the beginning. So let's get started. There's a fair amount this week, so let's get going. So first up, we have Limited Collector's Edition number 51 Facsimile, Batman, written by Denny O'Neil, with artwork by Neil Adams, Irv Novick, and Dick Giordano. Now, this, back in the day, they used to do these treasury size comics, and most of them were reprints, and this is a reprint. This actually reprints Batman number 232 and 242, 243 and 244. So it's the Ra's al Ghul storyline that Denny O'Neil, Neil Adams, and then Irv Novick did an issue. And Neil Adams penciled it, and Dick Giordano inked it. So this collects the whole thing, and there was the wraparound cover was new by Neil Adams. He made that. He did that cover especially for this. And it really was, back then, so now with inflation and everything, so the original cover price is $2. The new facsimile version is $14.99. Now, DC has done a number of these treasury books. Usually they do them in hardcover. I actually would have preferred a hardcover. I know they're more expensive and it kind of makes it a harder sell. But, $15 is a pretty decent price point for this. I mean, the nice thing is you get to see the artwork in kind of closer to its original size. That's obviously a big plus. Plus, you kind of get this whole story, and it's kind of a nostalgia thing too, because it reprints exactly. Now, there were no ads in it. The only ads are in the back for a couple other treasury editions at the time. My only complaint about this is the printing itself. As you can see, I'll try to hold it close to the camera. You can see that the cover it's not quite cut right on the top and the bottom. You can see that it's not. So that, it's kind of a printing thing. Now, I will say, Ryan at the comic shop got quite a few copies of this, and they're all exactly the same. So it's definitely in the printing. So if you do get one, just know that the cover and doesn't quite match up with the interior paper. But other than that, I think it's a good deal. It's a neat nostalgia trip. It's nice to see Neil Adams artwork, kind of in a bigger size like that. It's a little pricey, but I think it's worth it, for me, because I remember I used to have this book and I read the hell out of it. Most of these treasuries were a really good deal back in the day. You get all this big book for $2, but now it's $15. So, but I think it's still worth checking out. Next up, we have Dawn Runner number 1, written by Ram V, with artwork by Evan Cagle. So in simple terms, this is kind of like Pacific Rim, and what it is there's a portal that's open, and Tetsa, these monsters come, and of course conventional weapons don't work well, and so they create these Iron King mechas, and there is Anita Marr. She's like the best pilot they have, and they've created this new mech to go after the kaijus, called Dawn Runner. It's new, and it's supposed to be like, kind of the best and everything. And, that's kind of the setup. I mean, I liked it. We get to know, like, kind of the story, and we get to know Anita, fairly well. It's definitely an exposition heavy first issue. I like the idea and premise. I think this is gonna be one of those books that's like, the second issue is going to be really key because, once again, Ram V, he sets everything up, which is you kind of have to do in the first issue. Sometimes you have to lean a little bit more in the exposition than some. This one, sets everything up. So it's really going to be, what's going to happen from here. Once again, we've seen this story before. The question is, what is what's going to make this different from others? Now, I will say the artwork by Cagle is really, really nice. It's a really good looking book. I liked it. I didn't quite love it, but then, it is a first issue. I still think it's worth checking out, because it's got an interesting story. And then, of course, Cagle's art really shines and really, sets this book really apart from the other mech books that I've seen recently. But just be forewarned, it's definitely a lot of exposition, and we'll kind of see where it goes in the second issue. But I liked it. I just didn't quite love this first issue out of the gate, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes happens, but once we get past this exposition, hopefully the book will hit the ground running. Next up, we have Lilo and Stitch, number 2, written by Greg Pak, with artwork by Giuliana Giacomino. So Stitch was kidnapped by these, robots, and they want to create more Experiment 626. And so they end up, Stitch escapes, and they're in New York, and they end up at the New York Toy Fair. And so he stumbles on this guy Mike, who made these kind of pandas, but they're all messed up, but they kind of look like Stitch. So Stitch hides out with him and everything, and then so they escape the robots that are chasing him, and of course Lilo is following along trying to find Stitch, because they're best friends, and so he ends up mailing himself to Australia at the end of the issue to kind of hide out in a different country, and that it's fun. Pack gets the charm of Lilo and Stitch. I think, once again, the adventure's pretty basic and everything, but I just like it. I think it has a lot of fun. He definitely captures the characters, and Giacomono's artwork, he captures the style of the animated film and everything, and so it definitely looks the part. It reads, once again, it's not a very deep story, but it's a good, solid, fun story. I think it's good definitely for a younger crowd, but I'm a big fan of Lilo and Stitch, so I think it's worth picking up if you're a fan. Next up, we have Ape-ril special number 1. Now, this has 3 stories. There's Plan of the Apes, written by John Layman and with artwork by Carl Mosteret. Then there's Detective Chimp and Detour, written by Josh Hale Falkov, with pencils by Phil Hester and inks by Eric Gapster. And then The Monkey Prince in Call to Arms, written by Jean Luen Yang, with artwork by Bernard Chang. So the main story is like the DC villain apes versus the DC hero apes. So here's all there's so for the good guys, there's Sam Simeon, Detective Chimp, Monkey Prince, Gleek, and Super Monkey, and then for the villains, there's Mala, Gorilla Grodd, Titano, Silverback, Ultra Humanite, and Jackanapes. I've never heard of him. He's kind of like in a clown suit. It's very strange. But basically what it is Monkey Prince's arm has been taken, and then the villains call themselves the Legion of Yes, they will spell that out. And so what it is they find out that this monkey scientist is basically creating a kind of a contraption out of the monkey paws. The monkey paws is, you wish, and be careful what you wish for. And so that's kind of the main story. And then the hero apes have to battle, the bad apes, and it's just a fun, silly little story. There's Layman definitely puts a lot of ape jokes in there and everything. And Monsterat's artwork is really nice. It's a fun, harmless story. The next one is definitely a detective noir story, where Detective Chimp, his car breaks down, so he hitchhikes, and this guy has picked up another guy, but he attacked him and he killed him, and he dumped the body. So Detective Chimp has a feeling that there's something wrong, and he basically, kind of convinces him to go turn himself in for the murder. It's actually really a good story, and Hester's artwork really is perfect for the noir aspect of it, and it's a good solid story. And then the Monkey Prince story basically is kind of a prequel story to the main story about how, the Monkey Prince had his arm stolen because he can disconnect his limbs. And, it's kind of like it would have. It's kind of a catch-22. It would have made more sense to put that story first, but then it's not the main story. It leads into it. So you're kind of reading the prequel story after you're reading the main story, so it's a little weird, but it's a good, it's Yang and Chang are, it's the same team who did the Monkey Prince series, and they do a nice job. But like I said, it is a prequel to a story that you've already read, so it's a little weird, but it's still good. Overall, this was really a fun little book, and as a bonus, there's some of the crazy Silver Age covers that have apes on them, like there's one with an ape playing baseball. I think it was from Strange Sports. So it's really quite funny to include those. There was the weird monkey covers, and so it's a lot of fun. I think that's what really makes it, is really kind of a fun, charming little book with all the DC apes and monkeys. So I think it's well worth checking out. Next up, we have Star Wars Visions. Takashi Okazaki, number 1, written and drawn by Takashi Okazaki. So what this is there was the on Disney Plus, there's Marvel Visions, and so this is kind of his origin story of the Ronin, and how his early history and how he became a Sith, and it really is quite interesting. There was a story that he did in the Marvel Star Wars Black, White, and Red, and so this is kind of like the origin story. Now, you don't have to have read that. You don't even need to actually have seen the Disney Plus Star Wars Vision stories to understand this. It's just how he ultimately became a Ronin, and then you have kind of the Japanese versions of like R2-D2 and C-3PO and stuff like that. It's really a beautiful book, and the story is just really solid, and it's also a one and done type story. So that's, it's kind of a win if you just want to read this. I mean, that's kind of nice, especially in the Star Wars universe, where you don't have to worry about continuity or anything. You can just sit here and read this book and marvel at the story and the gorgeous art, Ozaki's gorgeous artwork. So this one's definitely well worth picking up this week. Next up, we have Man's Best, number 1, written by Pornsak Pichot, with artwork by Jesse Longren. So what this is so there's a spacecraft, they're searching for a new Earth because, big surprise, we screwed up our Earth. So now they have to go find another Earth so everybody can survive, the corporate demise of our Earth. And so what it is, there's this doctor who has a cat and 2 dogs, and she's built these mech outfits for them. And then while they're looking for this new, this new planet, all of a sudden a planet appears out of nowhere. So the spaceship crash lands. And so the pets are going to go find their master, the doctor, who has created them, and try to, save her and get off this planet. It's a really good setup. I really have to give Pichot props. He sets everything up really well. And of course you get to know not only the pets, but the doctor, and of course the captain of the ship is like, kind of like, well, I don't know why we have these pets, and they're kind of trouble, and and that kind of sets up that, yeah, they actually are really important. It's very interesting about Longren's artwork. Now, I really did like it, but at first, it kind of has a simple, look and feel to it. And at first, I'm like, oh, okay, but then after, kind of, reading the script, the artwork makes so much sense to kind of have, it has a bit, it's kind of a simple fairy tale storybook type look, which actually fits the story quite well, even though, it's definitely not, it's kind of a fairy tale and storybook sort of story, but it kind of isn't. But the artwork makes so much sense to do it that way. And so by the time I got done with the first issue, I'm like, oh, and now I totally know why Longren did the art the way he did. So, once again, don't be put off. If you look at it, you go, okay, well, I'm not. Definitely, the art makes a lot of sense because it really marries very well with the story to go with it. So I really like this first issue. It's definitely well worth checking out. And who doesn't like a dog with a rocket strapped to his back? That's always a win. Next up, we have Batman 89 Echoes #2, written by Sam Hamm, with pencils by Joe Quinones and inks by Stacy Lee. So this continues from the first issue where Batman has disappeared. Nobody knows where he is. Alfred doesn't even know where he is. And we found out at the end of the first issue, bit of a spoiler if you haven't read the first issue, but that was a month ago. So you've had time to, read this. So what it is Bruce is in a mental hospital. And so what it is Jonathan Crane is his doctor. And so, he's kind of having, he doesn't quite know that he doesn't realize he's Batman. So something has happened to him. But he has these kind of dreams of being Batman. And so the question is, has Jonathan Crane captured him? We don't know. But we also find out that of course, Harley Quinn is also the psychiatrist in the mental institution. So there's that. Plus, also there's nice little nods to the films where you see the Penguin, at the asylum too, and he looks like Danny DeVito. So this is definitely kind of a sequel to Batman 89, and also kind of Batman Returns in some ways. It definitely takes place in that universe because Sam Hamm wrote the original script for Batman 89. And then Joe Quinones really does a great job of capturing the likenesses of the actors. I really like this, and it's kind of very different from the first one because, honestly, we really haven't seen Batman. It's been 2 issues, and it's like, oh, that's kind of cool. I like that. So I was a big fan of the first miniseries, and I think this one's doing a really good job of doing a different story, but in that same universe. So still worth checking out. Next up, we have You and I, #2, written by J. Michael Straczynski, with artwork by Mike Choi. So what it is so you, he doesn't know his name. He only knows like because he woke up in the hospital and the only name that was on there was You. And so what we discovered in the first issue is that he's basically invulnerable. Like he can get shot and stuff, and he bleeds, but it doesn't ultimately kill him. So he's kind of like, he's not invulnerable, but he is, he can survive, getting shot like 100 times. So what it is I is the girl, and he's been having these dreams, and basically they're ultimately kind of need to get together, and he also sees the world kind of in a weird, kind of almost a fairy tale like look. So it's really interesting how Choi does the artwork when you see his point of view. But basically what it is they kind of find out that the, corporations and, the mob are basically running things. And so like they go, You discovers kind of like how they're oppressing the people. Then they go to this check cashing place where they screw over the people because they have no choice. They have to go there because of the neighborhood. They can't go to a regular bank, so they have to go to this, and the mob is basically screwing them on it. But we also find out that there's a bigger organization running the whole thing. They're not making money off these people. It's actually a money laundering scheme in the back. And so when You basically attacks them and, it basically gives the money back to the people, he unfortunately gets the attention of the head of, like the mob, and now they're going to go after him. So this is really quite an interesting story. We kind of don't really know much about You or even that much about the girl, but it's really interesting how Straczynski is kind of setting up this story, and I do really like it. And then Choi's artwork is really nice. It's a really good looking book. I really enjoy the premise of this. I think the second issue builds really nicely on it, And even though we don't quite know everything that's going on, Straczynski is definitely slowly building and letting you know. He's giving you a little bit more in each issue, and I do like that. So still well worth checking out. Next up, we have Nightwing number 112. Written by Tom Taylor with artwork by Sammy Basari. And then there's the backup story, Son of Grey Part 2, written by Michael W. Conrad with artwork by Francisco Francavilla. So this is the second part of the story where Nightwing had rescued a kid, and his parents have been killed, and his uncle took him, but the uncle has, nefarious plans, so he kidnaps the boy, and so Nightwing and Batman have to go after him. But there's also the kind of subplot of what, Dick is having problems. He's now scared of heights, and, Batman's trying to help him and try to kind of figure out what is going on. So there's that subplot that's going on. But the main part of the story is that they're going to go rescue the boy. And so there's that, and it really wraps up this nice little two-part story really well. Taylor's, as always, really knocking it out of the park on this book. I love this book every month. Sammy Basari's artwork is really nice. And just to let everybody know, Bruno Redondo is coming back. The next issue, 113, is going to be, I think, the 300th issue of Nightwing. So it's going to be a big double-sized issue, and and I guess that next story arc is going to be Tom Taylor and Bruno Redondo's last story arc on Nightwing. So that's really sad. But getting back to this issue, we have Son of Grey Part 2, which is kind of like a history, like a great-great-great-great-grandfather of Dick Grayson. And so, he goes after, his family's been killed. He finds out that it's basically the Joker that's been behind it. So he goes after, the Joker, and it's really interesting. Even though these are really short stories, I really dug what Conrad did with this. Kind of, instead of just doing kind of a generic, Nightwing story, he actually, kind of went to the past and created this mythology for the Graysons. So I really like that, and of course I love Francisco Francavilla's artwork. It really fits the mood of this story, and it was really good. I really liked it. So definitely that was a nice bonus in this issue. Next up, we have Cobra Commander number 3, written by Joshua Williamson with artwork by Andrea Milana. The book is still pretty weird. It's getting a little less weird. So what it is Cobra Commander has been captured by the Swamp Gang because they've discovered Energon. He's looking for Energon. And so they basically torture him, and try to find out why he's there and everything. And of course, he's not giving anything up. He's not going to spill the beans. And then we find out his security guard is kind of not what he seems, and I will not tell you anymore, but that's a nice reveal. This was really, basically it's an all torture issue, but it really is kind of interesting how Williamson is doing this story. I mean, this is definitely not a normal G.I. Joe type story, but that's what I love about it, is that it's kind of bonkers, and that's why it kind of works so well, is it's just very odd, but it makes sense. I mean, it's a pretty simple story. He's looking for Energon because he has one of the Decepticons, so he wants to, fire him up. And so, but the whole Florida swamp people thing is just wild. And then Milana's artwork is actually quite nice. It's pretty simple, but it does a really nice job of capturing the story and everything. I really like this book. It's strange, but I really like it because it is very different. It's, and that's what's making it a lot of fun. Next up, we have Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees, number 4, written and drawn by Patrick Horvath. So the basic story, from issue 1, and we're 4 issues in, so there's not a spoiler at this point, that Sam is basically a serial killer, but she doesn't kill people in her small town. She goes to the city, kills people, because people die in the city. And then what it is people, so she comes back, and people are getting killed in her small town, which is a big deal because this doesn't happen in this small town. So this issue, she does find out who the killer is, and what it is he has discovered her secret of, going to the city and killing people. But he wants to kind of like partner up and like, we can kill people and it'll be great. And she's like, you're nuts. Like, the serial killer is telling another serial killer you're nuts, and you're just like, mind blown on that one. And so of course he exacts revenge by planting evidence of her murders in her store. And that's where this issue ends. Yes, this is a bit of a spoiler, but it really changes the game of this book. This book has been wildly, insanely amazing because, first of all, you have the, kind of cute animals and stuff, and then there's murder involved and cutting them up and putting them in paint cans and burying them. But the story has been really good. It's kind of a simple murder mystery type setup, but the way that Horvath is doing it is really, you're learning about Sam, you're learning about the town, you're learning about these characters, and then just this twist of like, kind of solving the small town murder. But then it totally changes, like, that's not the end. There's, like, even more, and you're just like, oh, my God. I love this book. This book is really, really good, so definitely continue to pick this up. This continues to be a must-buy book. Next up, we have Fantastic Four, number 18. Written by Ryan North with artwork by Carlos Gomez. So this is another kind of one and done issue. If you haven't been reading Fantastic Four, first of all, shame on you. Ryan North is knocking it out of the park. But what I like is he's doing kind of these single stories, and even when he does multi-part stories, there are two. Maybe he did one for 3 issues, but it's only been very short story arcs. There is an overall story going on, but a lot of times you can like this issue, you can pretty much pick it up and read it by itself. So what it is, it kind of starts off with Franklin, because of his powers, he sees the future, and one of the things he sees is these invisible asteroids coming to Earth. So what it is he, the Fantastic Four discover that these invisible asteroids are coming to Earth, and they have to figure out a way to stop them. And of course, they're invisible asteroids, so it's not like, oh, there's one, go blow it up, Johnny. But the way that they figure out how to, save this town from getting destroyed by these asteroids is really quite fascinating, and it really what the key to why I really like this book and what Ryan North is doing is he's brought them, he's made them a family again, which is really how the Fantastic Four start out. They're a family, and he continues to do this every single issue, how they work together as a team and stuff like that. And I like the fact that it's, like this issue, the stakes are high because, they're trying to save the town, but in a lot of ways, it's just a really nice, simple story about family and them working together as a team. And it's just, that's what I love about this book. And he's had a couple different artists, but Gomez does a really nice job on the artwork on this issue. They've had a number of, like a few different artists, but all of them have been really solid. And just, this book is just amazing. And I really love it. And it's just a shame that I don't think it's a lot of people are picking up. So definitely continue. This is like I said, you can read this issue on its own and it'll really give you a flavor what North has been doing with that book. Next up, we have Wonder Woman number 7, written by Tom King with artwork by Guillaume Marche. So this is this is a standalone issue. It kind of takes place before the events of the Amazons getting kicked out of the United States and all that. So it's kind of a fill-in issue, but the basic premise is that Wonder Woman and Superman go to this giant mall in outer space. Apparently, it's the biggest mall in the universe, and so they're looking for a gift for Batman for his birthday. And so, really, even though that's the premise to get them to go to this place, it's really about the connection of Kal-El and Diana, and it's really about how their relationship is friends. And Of course, the big news story was that, Superman goes there to get a manicure and a pedicure. And yeah, it's actually pretty funny. And the way Tom handles it is really just perfect. But really, it's a character study issue. And that's, and King's really good at that. And, the other great thing is Marcia's artwork. He captures the big scope of like this mall, but really it's just a lot of really talking. And yet you can visually feel all the emotions and dialogue that King is doing there. And it's just, I love what King is doing with Wonder Woman. And this issue is really good. And if you haven't read, the first kind of part of the first story arc, you can read this issue and kind of get a feel of what King is doing with the book, because like I said, it's completely standalone. And so it has nothing to do with the main story that's going on. It's just, getting a gift for Batman. That's the basic story. And it really is that damn good. And both story and art are just amazing. And this Wonder Woman continues to be a must-buy book. Next up, If You Find This, I'm Already Dead, #2, written by Matt Kent with artwork by Dan McDade. So what it is the first issue is that Robin, she's a reporter, and she goes. What it is they go to this other planet, Terminus, because they're trying to get minerals or something, or for Earth. And so the army guys that were with her, they're all dead. So she's escaped into this world, but she's trying to understand. She's escaped in the first issue, so she's kind of hiding out. She's trying to learn the language of the locals while staying away from the bad guy robots. And so eventually she kind of stumbles across how this world works and all this stuff. And then she gets captured by the robots and taken to their castle or their building or whatever. And there is a big secret reveal at the end, which I will not spoil here. Try not to spoil. But it really changes the game of how Robin is gonna, after the secret she finds out, it's oh, so that's interesting. But it really is a bizarre and amazing journey that Kent and McDade's doing here. This issue was really good. The first issue was kind of, it was action because, the soldiers and everything got attacked, and it was kind of keep running away. Now it's more of she's trying to learn to live here while still trying to figure out a way to get home. So this issue was really, it was bizarre, but not too weird you didn't understand. But it really just kind of opened it up to how wild this world is, and I really like that. I like what Kent has done here, and once again, McDade's artwork is really nice. So really check this book out. I liked it. Next up, we have Beware the Planet of the Apes, #3, written by Mark Guggenheim with artwork by Alvaro Lopez. And then it does have excerpts from The Adventures on the Planet of the Apes, written by Doug Munch, and with artwork from Alfredo Arcola. So what this is, this takes place in the original 1968 Planet of the Apes universe. And what it is Lucius, who is Zira's cousin or nephew, and so is kidnapped by these apes, and so Cornelius and Zira go into the Forbidden Zone, because they're trying to find him. And so they've also because Nova, the girl from the original film that Charlton Heston goes with, is in it, and she tells her, she can't talk, but she says, hey, I kind of know what's happening. So they end up in this there's this Coliseum where there's humans who have mutated, and they're so there's the gorilla military city that's close, and they kind of have this understanding we won't attack you, and we'll kind of try to live our separate lives. So Zira convinces the humans that eventually the gorillas are going to attack, and so because they want to try to save Lucius from the gorillas, because the gorillas are planning to attack the ape city. So that's kind of where we are in the third issue. I really like that Guggenheim has set it in the original apes kind of timeline. I really like that a lot. If you're, like me, you're a big fan of the original film. And I just like how they're integrating like scenes from the old Marvel comics by Munch and Alcola into the story, because it really does it. Once again, they did those based on those storylines, from the original films. So I really enjoy this book. I think you have to be a fan of the original a 1968 Planet of the Apes film and kind of have a familiarity with it. But I really like how, once again, Guggenheim's handling it, and Lopez's art is really nice. So it'll be interesting to see how it all concludes next issue. And finally this week we have Bone Orchard Mythos Tenement number 10, written by Jeff Lemire with artwork by Andrea Sorrentino. So now, I haven't reviewed the past few issues, but I have been reading them. And so, I'll try not to go too deep in the story, but basically what it is, there's 7 people who have gone into kind of the underbelly of this tenement building, and so one of them has basically captured Amanda's son Isaac, and basically doing a ritual to kind of release the devil. That's kind of the best way to describe it. And so what it is Amanda has to try to find Isaac, and with the rest of the tenants, has gone on this journey, through the kind of 7 levels of hell, basically. And so the basic thing is that they have to save Isaac, so it doesn't affect the world outside. It's that basic premise of the story. So what was really interesting about it, how it ended, it had kind of a big ending, but it kind of didn't at the same time. It's like, it kind of, not so much it leaves it open for a sequel. It's more of like, did Amanda and Isaac really solve, the thing? Did they really stop it? What kind of really happened? I mean, this all happened, but it's like, what are the ramifications? And I think I liked the way that Lemire ended the story, is that it doesn't tie it all up into a neat bow and everything. And that's what was really kind of interesting about it. Now, the Bone Orchard Mythos, they've been 3 stories now. They really kind of tie together, but they're somewhat completely separate. I think it's more of like, kind of like an Alfred Hitchcock or Twilight Zone. Yeah, it's a Twilight Zone story, but it's its own thing. That's, to me, the best way to think of this. You don't have to have read the other 2 books to read this, but you definitely have to have read all 9-10 issues to get the story. But I think what it is it's kind of like that. To me, kind of that throwback to like, kind of classic horror, where it's more, it's not about the gore and stuff. There is blood and stuff like that, but it's more about kind of the creepiness of it. And that has been, both Lemire with the script and Sorrentino with the artwork has really captured this, kind of creepy feeling. It kind of is a bit unnerving, but that's why I've really enjoyed it. And it'll be interesting to go back and kind of read it in one shot, because I think, that the way that this story is laid out, I think it's really going to read really nicely in one shot. Now, this is the final issue, the 10th one. So I'm sure there's going to be a trade or hardcover of the other one, of the whole story. So I think that's really going to be the best way to really read this story, to really, I think, appreciate kind of the subtlety that they do, instead of having to wait every 30 days, which I did, but I still enjoyed it, but I think it's going to be one of those, I think it'll be really good to go back and reread it and kind of maybe see some things that maybe I didn't quite notice with the monthly gaps. But I really enjoyed it. If you're a fan of those 2 talents, then definitely pick up the collection when it comes out. That's going to do it this week. As always, public service announcement. I get all my comics at Pulp Fiction Comics in Long Beach, California. Ryan Skinner, the owner, runs a great store. There's Annie, there's Wendy, there's Derek, handles their socials. Check out their Facebook group. They have a lot of social medias. They offer discounts on their trades and graphic novels every day. They have discounts on their manga selection. They have a really nice all ages section, which is really good. They also support local artists and So they have a local, artists, with comics and prints and stuff. So that's really great for the local community. And also they have pull service, so you don't miss any of your weekly books, and you get a discount if you subscribe. I think it's like 10 a month, so it's pretty easy to hit. But they get them all ready for new comic book day, and it's a really great store. So definitely check it out if you're in the Long Beach area. It's a really good store. And Ryan's just the crew is great. It's just a really good comic shop. And as always, support your local comic shop. They're a real backbone of the industry. So make sure you pick up your stuff on a timely basis, because they have to pay for it before you do. And as always, we end our show with be kind. Be kind to each other, and be kind to yourself. I know things are really tough out there, but just being kind doesn't cost anything, and really being kind to yourself is very important. You need to take care of yourself. I know money's tight, jobs are tough, but just take care of yourself. That's really important. And then while you're taking care of yourself, be kind to other people. Kindness, really makes you feel good, and it can make other people feel really good. That's going to do it this week. Thanks for watching. As always, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Share our videos. It's great. Thanks for all the subscribers and the comments. It's great. So definitely we'll just keep plugging along here. As always, thanks for watching. This is Steven from PopCultureMaven.com signing off. We'll see you next week. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.